in order to accelerate the program, in order to improve the efficiency, in order to enhance the productivity, by substituting, by introducing something new, something innovative, something technologically advanced. This is called value engineering. This is called value engineering. So the variation clause allows value engineering, giving some sort of a flexible setting, keeping the contract in a flexible setting, right, in order to harness the contractor's potentials, good engineering potential, right? This is value engineering. So this is called contractor proposed variations. In a contractor proposed variations, contractor cannot propose something extravagant in terms of cost, something that occurs unnecessary waste, something that wastes a lot of money on the budget. You got my point. This is called best effort. This is another term. The contractor must industriously apply his best effort to make things valuable, to make things efficiently operative in a contract, particularly in suggesting variations under that clause. Best effort. Through best effort, what is happening? He has to minimize the unnecessary cost, and he has to mitigate disruptive cost or disruption. Mitigate disruption. This is called doctrine of mitigation. The doctrine of mitigation in common law principle says the contractor cannot use something substantial money-wise, right, in order to bring big value, right? He must manage that financial limitations also effectively. This is the idea behind doctrine of mitigation, right? Therefore, you have to be careful. When you say variations, it's not something, as I said, global. There are parameters. The another aspect of this variations is that the engineer cannot issue the variations in the contract, but under the contract. You be careful. Not in the contract, but under the contract. What do you mean by this? We have, let's say, a simple example, 100 small housing units, right? But in that, the engineer issues a variation order, asking the contractor to build up a small mosque or temple or some church or something like that, which requires a different architectural and engineering approach, right? By definition, strictly speaking, it is not a variation. It is a variation in the contract. It is not a variation under the contract, right? It's a variation under the contract. No, it is a variation in the contract, right? But when you say there's a road project, right? The engineer will have to, because of some artificial obstructions, some change the super elevation or alignment, or widen the limit of way, right? ROW or LOW, widen. This is a variation under the contract because it is necessary for the completion of the works. So one of the requirements to be satisfied in issuing a variation is that it must be necessary for the completion of the works. It must be necessary for the completion of the works. So a genuine smart contractor, if he finds that something issued not under the contract but in the contract, I am not in a position financially or technically to get that going. The engineer says, no, this is my authority. The contract is not going to be invalidated under any circumstance. I am authorized on behalf of the employer to issue variations. So you are supposed to do, right? the contractor can say, no, Mr. Engineer, you have issued the variation in the contract, right? Keeping me financially as well as technically also there. Something beyond my capacity. It is contestable, it is arguable. Okay, these are the limitations governing the issue of variations. Now, in the second scenario, there's a verbal order, right? I don't like to use the word oral. Oral is something colloquial. It's verbal order. And whatever the order, it has to be subsequently confirmed in writing, right? There's a time frame of some 28 days for the various parties to either agree or contradict. 28 days time frame, right? But in many of these beyond spoken contracts in this part of the world, they say you go by at the earliest practicable opportunity. This is what the term earliest practicable. It's not necessarily 28 days. Because the danger behind stipulating a time frame is that the party can just keep silence till the 27 days and take a decision. Right? They may not get caught. Right? But when they say, go by the earliest practicable opportunity, right? Could be vague. This not something quantifiable, but something technically interpretable, depending on the context, right? When you say earliest practicable opportunity. So the best frame should be earliest practicable opportunity. The parties must be allowed to either confirm, protest, retaliate, argue, or whatever, negotiate and so on. I think 28 days here in this part of the world is fair enough. It's more than 3 weeks, almost a month, right? So better to address whatever the variations as at the earliest practicable opportunity. Now here, a verbal instruction is deemed to be an order if confirmed in writing by the contractor and then not contradicted by the engineer. Okay? And let me go to various types of another scenario, another way of looking at the variation process. There are additions, there are omissions. This you may come across in typical lump sum contracts where you have to prepare a schedule of addition and omission, right? And then you calculate the net resultant effect. And when you are pricing variation, the parties are supposed to use the bill rates as far as possible. This is the rate in the price BOQ. The rates are immutable, they are not to change, they are applied without change. This is what many courts say. The rates are binding. Okay? So use the bill rates as far as possible. And if not, the parties have to agree to suitable rates. This is based on the principle called fair valuation. Fair valuation. Right? So the next term is fairness. Fairness. Fairness is something vague, something open, something global. My fairness may be unfair to you. Okay? So it is individual sometimes when you say fair. Now there are another term called reasonable. This go coupled together, fair and reasonable, to emphasize more. It's fair and reasonable. What does it really mean? Now fairness is measured against the gain at the time you entered into the contract or at the time you quoted your bid price. There's a relationship. The parties must measure the fairness against the time you quoted the bid price. Right? This is one measurement of it, against the time you quoted the bid price. Now, when we say fairness, it must again be measured against the technical context technical context. Technical context. And then it must be measured against the economic context. There are two things. Fairness. Now what is this technical? All the technicalities involved in the variation must be looked upon, must be taken into consideration. How we are going to do this? You have what you call the tender price breakup. This is the whole idea behind asking in your instructions to tenderers. In any typical government tender, you get a tender instruction, right? The tender is supposed to submit a detailed breakup for the unit prices and lump sum amounts you quote, right? That's what is said. Now, tender price breakup, once submitted after the tender has been floated or after the tender has been opened up, are subservient to the tender. They are not going to be part and parcel of the tender document. If that is submitted subsequently, right? Be careful. Because these contents are not become competitive at that stage. That's the whole idea. However, it is a guideline. I have seen some of the smart contractors say, no, we cannot disclose commercial secrets. We are not bound to give you each and every minor price or whatever our commercial sensitive they are internal. What is important in order to price a subsequent variation is a detailed price breakup of cost, I mean the material, labor, plant and equipment and tools, site overheads, head office overheads, fixed, if anything, fixed component, fixed margin, plus the profit. So you have to have a detailed spreadsheet like this, right? Material, labor, plant, fixed, profit and so on. So what is happening is, you straight away submit in two lines, subcontractor's price and percentage. Okay? Subcontractor's price will not help much in valuing variations. Right? So, one of the legal principles behind valuation of variations is, as I said, to link with the original tender. You have to maintain the tender pricing level. Right? In order to see the tender pricing level, you have to have this detailed breakup well in advance. Okay.
But still, I think FIDIC it allow submit this breakdown of 14 days of signing contract.
Yes. Actually, it is not necessarily FIDIC, but some of the bespoke contracts, clients have established that argument in their documents. Within 14 days, you must submit your breakup. So the principle is that you have to maintain the tender pricing level when you are valuing variations. That is because you are comparing against what was contemplated at the time you quoted the bid. Right? Okay. And then you agree or disagree. This is the only option available. You agree or disagree. Right? Then finally engineer to fix. Most of the times. Here in Bahrain contracts, you get a person called quantity surveyor. Also. In this document, there is a man called quantity surveyor. Right? Now don't get yourself misunderstood that the engineer is not the civil BSc engineer pass out from University of Bahrain or something. No. It is engineer to the contract. It could be any top man working on the road, appointed by the employer to work as, designated as the engineer. This is engineer to the contract, which is not necessarily the civil engineer. It could be a mechanical engineer, I don't know. Right? Engineer to the contract. Now, the engineer to the contract shall fix suitable rate when there is a disagreement between the employer and the contractor. Right? That's the point. But make sure there's a thing called duress.